Am I the asshole for not contributing to staff gifts and calling out my colleague for taking full credit? So, here's the deal. Every year since I, 29F, started at this office job, there is one person, F56, that arranges an annual, staff Christmas gift, where they ask everyone to contribute $30 total per person towards gifts for the 3 top executives. In the last 2 years that we've done this, the 3 people in management who have been given the gifts have come down to our office and thanked that one person, F56, profusely for her generosity and how sweet she was to do this, etc. Last year, I asked her if she gave something from just her as well and if that was why they thanked only her. She said no, but since she was the one who handed the gift basket to them and wrote the card, there were 3 others inc. Me who built the actual baskets. She just insisted on doing the card. They may be misunderstood. Note that she always does this first thing in the morning and will take the basket from our office and go up by herself regardless if people say they'd like to join her, and just say she forgot they wanted to come with. Well, I checked with one of the assistants because I am petty. The assistant told me that while the card said that it was from the staff, it did say name of the lady and the rest of the staff, and that the same thing had happened the year before. At the time, I did not say anything and just made a note of it for this year. Now, here's where I may have been a bit of an AH. This year, this lady once again sent out an email asking everyone to contribute a minimum of $30 per person for these 3 people. One of the owners retired earlier in the year, but she felt he'd still really appreciate a gift. I answered the email and said, "Dear Name, thank you for reaching out regarding this. I have given a lot of thought to this throughout the year, and have decided to organize my own gift this year instead with a smaller amount as it's been a tough year financially for me and many others. Perhaps you can edit last year's card to say, love from her name and the rest of the staff, except for my name. Thank you, and happy holidays." About 5 minutes after I sent the email, she came storming over and told me that I had no right to accuse her of taking credit for the gifts and not including everyone's name. I asked if it was untrue that that's what her card said last year, to which she answered that that's how she's always written the card. Apparently, she's currently scrambling because a lot of other staff members are choosing not to join her gift this year, and her friend, F60, has told me that it was super petty and not very much in the spirit of Christmas of me to ruin the gift to management this year, while grumbling about how selfish I and other younger staff members are who don't want to contribute to the gift. So Reddit, am I the asshole in this situation? Edit to add clarification that the minimum sum was $10 per gift, which is $30 in total for each staff member. Sorry if that was unclear. English is not my first language as much as I feel like I'm fluent, haha. Also, thank you to everyone who answered so far. I definitely did not realize this was not common practice as I was told it was. Why are you guys getting your executives gifts at all? I'm curious why the heck the bosses need gifts at all? Don't they make significantly more than the underlings? That's just ridiculous. Not the asshole, that lady deserves everything she's got coming to her. Not the asshole, but where the hell do you work that all the staff buy presents for the executives? £30 each. Not the asshole at the very least. They should have passed around a card for everyone to sign. I also think it's shitty to expect the employees to pitch in for a gift for the presumably better paid management. Not the asshole. The only asshole is the one who uses others' money, time and labor to buy their boss a gift from them. I bet she didn't even contribute any money. Frankly, you should have loudly asked the assistant why the 3 bosses snubbed all the other staff members who paid for and prepared the gift. Not the asshole. Gifts always flow down the chain of command, never up the chain of command. The bosses should not be getting gifts. They should be giving you a bonus or gift card or something. This is business etiquette 101. This woman is completely out of line. Am I the asshole for yelling at my niece to stop playing with my son's mobility aid? I, 26F, have 2 kids, but this post is in regards to my son, MJ, M7, and my niece, F5, who we will call Jill. For some background, my son has some mobility issues that make it extremely hard for him to walk on his own. He uses a walker in most cases, but at home he uses something we call his scoot around, that his doctor had made epically for him. MJ can sit on it and use his legs to push. It has wheels on the bottom and looks kinda like an elephant. I hope this description makes sense. It helps him strengthen his legs, is fun, and also helps him zip around the house easier. Yesterday my sister and her kids were over and playing with my son. I noticed Jill on the scoot around and asked her to please get off as it isn't a toy, it's to help MJ walk. My son says, "It's okay mom. I'm showing all my cousins how it works," so at this time I did back off and let them continue. About 30 minutes later my son texts me while I'm in the other room with my sister and asks for help. I run upstairs and see Jill playing recklessly with the scoot around. My son was upset because he said it needed to be charged and he needed to go to the bathroom and she would not get off. I helped my son to the bathroom first, and when we came back I did ask Jill twice nicely to get off and she refused and whined. I did end up raising my voice at her, which made her leave it alone. Next thing I know, my sister is running down screaming at me for making Jill cry. I explained the situation and how MJ's scoot around was not a toy. Sister said I shouldn't HAVW it out around other kids if they can't play with it, and said my son doesn't need it because he has a walker. I also explained the way Jill was playing with it could have broken it, but she doubled down. I made them get out. My nephews were supposed to stay over with MJ, so I asked if it was okay for them to still stay, and my son said yes, but that Jill had to leave. As soon as my sister got home, she, her husband, and my mom all started calling and texting saying I was the asshole. My husband is on my side, but nobody else is, so IDK. I edit for clarity. Not the asshole, but there needs to be a rule that nobody uses the scoot around except for MJ. You're right, it's not a toy. It's a mobility device that was made especially for him and would probably be expensive to replace, not to mention the inconvenience to MJ while it's being replaced. Stand up for your kid. So, your mother thinks that Jill having fun is more important than MJ able to get to the restroom? Ask her what she's going to do when she ends up with mobility issues as an old woman and someone takes her walker away. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. When we came back I did ask Jill twice nicely to get off and she refused. I did end up raising my voice at her, which made her leave it alone. You let it go the first time for your son. She ignored you twice more. At that point your sister should have parented her kid and told her to get off it. So I don't blame you for raising your voice. Her and her husband should teach their kids some boundaries. Your mom should stop enabling their poor parenting and stay out of it. What the hell was your sister doing just letting this happen? It's not a toy. What if her kid broke it? Ridiculous, selfish behavior. Disabled person here. I have nieces, nephews and all that. I have fun-looking AIDS kids love, and I'll let them mess with them, but if I need them and they don't listen I have to either raise my voice and explain or get their parent, as for some reason they don't get it, which is normal and usually the parent's fault. I've been through this. I have it out. Because it helps me, it make me happy. It is mine. If your son told her multiple times to get off then you did and she didn't, that's on the parents. Can't really blame a 5-year-old for being a 5-year-old. Not the asshole, and I think you need to send a cost breakdown to sister about what it would cost to replace it. And ask that she speaks to her child about respecting other people's property. If she breaks her own stuff, that's natural consequences. If she breaks someone else's, then that's financial consequences on her behalf, paid for by the parents. Am I the asshole for refusing to let my mentally ill hoarder-in-laws stay at my house indefinitely? Preface. My in-laws are in their 60s. Hoarders. Unhealthy people. Not elderly. Saying, well, this is what happens when you get to be our age. No, it doesn't. Eat healthy and take care of yourself. They don't cook, clean, their house is falling apart from neglect their own hygiene, they reek of urine, and have 2 cats who urinate and defecate all over the house. Their doctors have passively made comments about the smell. They don't ask for help or consider nursing homes. They seem to be there mentally, but are just gross. Incident 1. Winter of 2023, my father-in-law, plus 350 pounds, fell and he and my mother-in-law could not get him back up. They called the fire department. FD saw the condition of the house, called the health department and said they had 14 days or so to fix some of the issues around the house before they would be forced to leave. The Humane Society came and took their 2 cats away. I also know they just feed their cats leftovers from the food they get delivered. In my opinion, they should not have the poor things. There is mold, cat defecation, rot, and I would bet human excitement all around the house. My wife said there were trash bags filled to the brim everywhere. They got the house taken care of just enough to meet code, and fell right back into it, and now it's worse. Father-in-law recently beat cancer, but has some wounds, infections on his legs, and they keep coming back. Not sure on the cause of the infections, but I am certain their hygiene and living environment is causing them to remain. Incident 2. Today, and am I the asshole? Today, my father-in-law fell again and it was a repeat of 2023. FD called. Health department. The Humane Society took the 2 cats away, again. They have done nothing to improve the house. I heard my mother-in-law say, it's only gotten worse, over the phone when talking to my wife earlier tonight. The health department has marked it with red tape, or a red flag, or something where the house is not permitted for entry at this time, I think is what I heard. FIL's leg infections had maggots growing on them. Yes, maggots. He was delirious from the fall and is being admitted to the hospital for a few days. Sounds like a minor kidney injury or something. Mother-in-law has been discharged. She does not own a cell phone, and all of her belongings are back at the house, which I am not sure they can get in. My wife is on her way to get my mother-in-law and bring her back to our house. I said no. My wife and I both work from home. We do have the room. My wife said she will sleep in the guest bedroom, which doubles as my wife's office. I feel like in a 14-year husband and wife relationship in a house that we own together, my feelings and opinions should be valid, and we should come to an agreement. My in-laws knew in 2023 they had to do something, and they didn't, and I do not want to be a shelter for that kind of behavior. Am I the asshole for telling my wife, no, your mother-in-law can't stay here? Not the asshole, but I would have been more explicit. They can live here or I can live here. Because I would have to leave a partner who forced their hoarder parents, particularly ones this bad, on me. Not the asshole, these people need a higher level of care than you were able to provide, or should have to provide. I don't know where you live, but if it is the US, call your state DSHS office and speak to someone in Adult Protective Services. This couple sounds like they are gravely disabled. You do not live in a situation like that without having mental illness. They need to be in residential care, at least initially. Perhaps they would be able to return home with supportive services after some time. I am amazed that the fire department and hospital staff have not initiated something with social services. Not the asshole. Is your wife also planning to do wound care, personal care, cook and clean for 2 extra people? Where does she plan on working when father-in-law is released from hospital? Where will he stay? Look, it's very obvious these two can't look after themselves. Call Adult Protective Services and look into care home options. Not the asshole. Any visitors, guests must be mutually agreed upon in advance. My estranged parents aren't allowed on our property and neither is monster-in-law. My husband and I have agreed on this for years. Your wife needs to put the marriage first. Put your foot down and say no. Your mother-in-law will never leave. She will be joined by your father-in-law in due course. Tell your wife to get them into a care facility or pay for a hotel, etc. Not the asshole, but you need to help your wife come up with another solution. These are her parents and she wants to help them, that isn't going away. So whether it is getting them into low-income housing based on their income or putting them up in a hotel or finding an assisted living place for them to stay, you need to help her, wife, figure this out. Right now she's probably panicking because mom has no place to, and it's logical that a daughter would take in her mom. Am I the asshole for my reaction to my wife giving our twin sons true crime-related names? My wife has a slightly irritating true crime hobby. It's one of those hobbies we keep separate from our relationship. For the most part, she's normal about it and knows when to bring it up. I'm only reminded of it when she's around another aficionado. We had twins earlier this year. There were some negotiations about the names. I know at the end of the day, she's the one doing the hard work and has the final say, but she was inclined to eccentric, potentially life-ruining names that I had to talk her out of. One day she came to me with 2 surprisingly ordinary names. And named separately, no one would bat an eye at either one. In fact, no one batted an eye until recently. We were visiting family and she was showing off the kids when my sister-in-law, brother's wife, took me aside and said, "Are you serious? You named your twins after them?" I had no idea. I hadn't made the connection until that moment. When I got home, I confronted her and demanded we change the names. She said it was just coincidence and that maybe subconsciously, she paired the names, but the names are common, and changing them would be a hassle and draw even more attention to it in the first place. I said we can simply explain we hadn't made the connection at the time and decided to change it as soon as we realized. After all, my sister-in-law already said something. She won't budge and I find it concerning. Am I wrong? Edit. The names are Dylan and Eric. Not the asshole. Sure, Dylan and Eric are perfectly normal names, but the fact she wants to name them after the murderers makes them very weird. Why on earth would you want to honor mass shooters with your baby's names? No way in hell would I allow this. I work in education and I would be uneasy about a parent conference for parents who selected these names, not gonna lie. Not the asshole. Honestly, I would lose respect for my spouse if they named my children after murderers. A hobby is one thing, this is real life. Not a TV show she can't separate from reality. I didn't make the connection and had to look to the comments. I think it's genuinely possible that lots of people won't, that your wife was really just subconsciously pairing them together, and that most people who are not true crime aficionados, which, personally, I find extremely ghoulish, but that's a whole other thing, won't automatically connect them. There have been a lot of school shootings in the meantime, after all. But, people who know your wife's interest might squint at it, case in point, and more importantly, the names are tainted now. Even if they were innocently chosen, every time you pair them you'll be thinking about a massacre. It's odd that your wife doesn't mind the association, and it's unfair to your kids. Change at least one of their names, and better both. Not the asshole. I asked my husband, who is not at all into true crime, if someone named their kids Dylan and Eric, would that mean anything to you? And he looked at me like I had sprouted a second head and asked why the F someone would name their kids after the Columbine shooters. I gave him no context other than the question. It's likely that no one their age will make the connection, but there are plenty of people around who will, including parents of their future friends. Info. What are the names? Are they Jeffrey and Dahmer? Unfortunately, the names are very important for context here.